Hey guys! So this week we're talking about growth mindset and accountability. Um, One thing I want to ask you is your team a coach-led team or a player-led team? So a coach-led team is going to be a team that coach is going to enforce everything. So practice, plans, you're going to enforce the rules, you're going to make the team warm up, you're leading conversations, you're making them think about certain things in the perspective of you. Or is this a player-led team where you're still giving them the practice plan and you're still guiding them, but you're letting them have just a little bit more responsibility and a little bit more ownership for the team? I love the fact that if you could mix the two, you probably may have just a little bit more success. But if your team is a player-led team and is driven by the player's motivation and their will to want to be there, sometimes it tends to have better results, So there'll be times in my practice where I'm like, all right, I need you to come up with your favorite drill for the last 5 minutes of practice, go. Or we're going to start with so-and-so's favorite serve drill today. Think about how many drills they've been through, how many practices they've been through. Sometimes that just like breaks up the monotonous of your practice and really helps just a little bit. So things to think about. When we're talking about accountability, I like to do a couple things. So number one, I love to have a measurable, accurate way to define effort. I constantly talk about effort at practice. You're not giving enough effort. But for years, there was no measure on it. And the kids have struggled with that. So I came up with 3 different things that I heard this from a football coach. Is number one, it needs to be a burst of energy. Number 2, they need to be able to reach top speed. And number 3, did they finish the play? So number 1, is it, if I'm playing left back and, I make a move, but I don't burst of energy to go get it, that wasn't effort. If I was transitioning off the net to get 15 feet back and I was just jogging, well, that's not me reaching my top speed. And so, easily able to account, nope, you didn't reach it, or if I have a person that they have to touch their hand every single time they transition, they're just a little bit more accountable to get there at their top speed. And then number 3 is going to be finishing the play, which could be I pass and I freeze my platform, or I go cover immediately. After I serve, I don't just like watch, but I sprint to my base. So all those things can be a part of the finishing of the top 3. So burst of energy, top speed, finish your play, easy account for the kids to know. The next thing I do is I like to have them talk in huddles. We corner up, on the sideline and on the baseline. I love this because it gives me direct eye contact with my players. They don't get to like zone off and look wherever. And then I give my players an opportunity to talk to each other. So I'll say all outsides come out and talk, all defense, all middles. And they get a chance to address the team from their perspective. So it's not just me talking to them, and good and bad. So sometimes they'll say, we had major dips in our practice today. Let's fix that for next time. Or the goal next practice is to get 5 more blocks than we got today. So I think that helps just a little bit. The next thing I do is I love to establish a finisher on my team. And this can be 2, 3, 4 players on your team that you're trusting to get the ball at the end of the game. Multiple coaches have said, how do I get my teams to execute at crunch time? Well, I like to have a finisher established. And this is a person that, we sit before practice and we say, all right, who can we trust with the ball at 25-24? And we're playing, to qualify. Who do we want to get the ball in this particular moment? And it's amazing because sometimes your best players don't want to be the finisher. And so you can work through that and guide them on how to get them there. Sometimes you have your worst players raising their hand. Oh, I want to be the finisher. and so you can also guide that and try to, direct it the way you want it to go. But I think if you establish a finisher and your setter knows and and they know they're in the game at that particular moment that they're going to be getting the ball, then there's a little bit more sense of relief out there. If that finisher doesn't complete their role, then, now we talk about, that could break the trust that we have in you. So, you can always go back to, making them, are they going to be a player who wants the ball again? Or are they going to, bury their heads in the sand and they don't want to play anymore? So, it's just some things to think about. So who is your finisher on your team? And do they know it? And do your setters know it? I know so many setters who want to just throw the ball up to whoever at whatever time of the game. And I'm like, why did you set that person on game point? If you have a finisher out there, they're not going to be setting just a random person. They're going to be setting the person who wants to get the ball, who has already been established. So keep that in mind and talk to your team about who's the finisher. I like to have captains of the day. So this is I kind of do it on a rotating base. Usually we do it through jersey numbers. So number 1 will start, then the next practice number 2, then the next practice number 3. This person brings a quote to practice that they want to talk about. They lead the warm up. They can do whatever warm up they want to do. It just needs to be, 5 minutes or whatever your normal warm-up, but maybe they're the ones talking and leading. We have a captain of the day for the tournament, so who's going to be in charge of warming up everybody? So you could establish those people and give them those rules that can help your team. I also love to do text messages after a tournament. So, if we just finished first place in the Lone Star Classic and I want my kids, every single one of my kids, to text me who was the best player of the tournament for them, and who is the person who stuck out to them. Most of the time, they don't pick the best player. Most of the time, they pick the most supportive player on the team or the person that pumped them up when they were down. And I really like this because it gives, again, just another sense of them wanting to be the player of the tournament, the next tournament. I don't know about you, but I have plaque after plaque after plaque or medal after medal, at my house of, tournaments that you won. And so if you do get that plaque, what about giving it to the player who got the player of the tournament instead of, bringing it at home to collect dust? I like, signing the name of, on the back and then giving it to them where the team has chosen them, not the coach. And, you do have one vote, maybe 2 sometimes, but most of the time players choose who that's going to be. And if you don't want to give them a plaque, maybe you got a medal or you didn't get anything to give them, I would just, maybe whip up a little certificate or something that, $5 gift card from Chick-fil-A, whatever you want. And you can just give them that as a token of great job this tournament. We're so proud of you. And then that gives that motivation for the next tournament for them to want to be the player of the tournament. And they really, really like that a lot. So they usually have to tell me the player's name, plus they got to give me some examples of what that player did. And then I just read some of those. I don't tell them who said it, but usually, and most of the time it's like majority will pick the same person, that player stuck out. And usually it's not given to the same person every single tournament. Usually it's kind of split up. So the next thing I want to talk about real quick is growth mindset. So if you can get your players thinking just a little bit more positive, I think that that's going to be huge in the development of your team and how they're going to perform in those crucial moments. On the newsletter, I gave you a few videos to watch and a few articles to read about growth mindset. So many kids have like this fixed mindset of, I can't do it, I'm never going to be as good. And a growth mindset says it's okay. You're going to do this task, but you're going to get through it and you're going to learn something from it. And it's going to be better in the end and you're going to be a better player. So, work through that growth mindset with them. And I think that your team will just be a little bit more successful. I did put 2 drills on the newsletter, one for executing a first ball kill, which is also hitting on a single block and executing for your big finisher. And then the other one is crucial moments of the game, 22-22, then the score is 24, 24, just some different scoring that you can do. And the goal is to try to win 7 games in a row to build up your efficiency. So you can check those out on the newsletter. Lastly, I hope everybody has a phenomenal spring break and get some rest and really take care of yourself. That's the bottom line. If the coach is tired and you can't do it and you're running on, on steam, that's not going to help your team be the most energized. And make sure that you're taking care of yourself before you can take care of your team. I'll talk to you soon. I'll see you next week. I hope you have a wonderful spring break. Everybody be safe. Bye.